Good day out there to all my listeners, and I'd like to welcome you to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And for many of you, you know that that's the title of my book. It's a self discovery journey for women on how to restore yourselves, learn from your experiences, and be your true self again. And also for my new listeners, just so you'll get a little bit of knowledge of what this podcast is about, it's for individuals, it's for you all who are, in your heart of hearts. It's like your soul is just calling you to do something different. It could be it actually could be you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to leave a job, you want to get out of a relationship that's toxic, it's not good for you, you want to forgive somebody, you want to go back to school. There's so many things that you probably would like to do, but it's something like holding you back and you're stuck. So therefore, we talk about topics related to what I call personal improvement, personal development, and even some business development. And it will enable you to what I would call do some a little bit of introspection, do some self-reflection. And today we have a special guest on. I am so looking forward to for you guys to meet her. And our topic is going to be mindset for success and overcoming imposter syndrome. And I'd like to welcome Amber Renae to the stage. Well, hello, Amber.
Thank you so much for having me, Cassandra. My way has certainly been in my way for a lot of times throughout my life. So I'm excited to share some nuggets with the audience today.
Absolutely. I can't wait because I know a bit about you and it's so exciting. I'm looking forward to learn as well. And sometimes in our way, it's a work in progress. So I tell people sometimes I'm still in my way, and then I recognize that it's time for me to pivot and get out of my way. um,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do now for my listeners, I just want to read your bio just so they can get a little bit of knowledge about who you are. And then we're going to delve into this deep dive conversation in regards to the mindset for success and overcoming imposter syndrome. And by the way, listeners, Amber's coming all the way from Australia. So I think that's fascinating. I just love this international podcasting and how our world is set up that we have the technology to be able to do this. So this is great. So listen, Amber Renae is a trailblazing civil engineer turned serial entrepreneur, TV star, and personal branding expert who empowers women to rediscover their wow factor and build their dream digital businesses with a track record of creating three six-figure business in highly competitive industries. Amber shares her wisdom and entrepreneurial journey with her 70,000 strong global community. That's a lot. As an Australian she's a leading voice in e-learning. Amber educates tens of thousands of worldwide on entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and personal branding. She stars in the hit US reality show Dream Life and is the author of Dream Life, the Boss Babe's Guide to Turning Your Online Business Dream into Reality. I love that, Boss Babe. And obviously she's a woman on a mission to make and reach millions. Her passion and expertise makes her a must listen for anyone ready to transform their life and business. So my listeners, you are in the right place because I know many of you all want to transform your life and you want to start your business and just a whole gamut of things. Now, one of the things interesting before I even ask Amber, I don't know whether this is her mantra, but I'm going to kind of say it is just based on what mine is and how we have similarities. Like Amber believes in the freedom to work on your own terms and define your business. I think that's interesting because mine is um, I know we all have the capacity to live your best life on your terms. So she's looking at the freedom and work on your own terms. And I'm looking at knowing that you, all listeners, have the capacity to live your best life on your terms, right? So, Amber, let me ask you, let's talk about your backstory. And I want to talk about it before you began your career in the civil engineering piece. Well, tell us what was going on with Amber back in those days.
Well, I started engineering straight out of high school. So I guess I went through high school. We were raised in a very lower economic area. I had three brothers. My dad was an engineer. My older brother was an engineer. I was good at maths. That's sort of where the extent of that story got to. So I went and studied engineering, despite knowing that I always wanted to have a fashion label, but that wasn't allowed in my family. I had to go and get the good degree and the good piece of
Mhm.
paper and the good, reliable job. So that's what I set off to do. So I ended up working on one of the biggest construction sites here in Australia, and I painted my steel cap boots pink, and my nickname on site was Pinky.
Oh, wow, because your boots, you painted them pink. Is that
Yep.
it? On the work site. Isn't that interesting? I also noticed that you said you came from humble beginnings. And when you say that, you talked about that. Did you have like a sewing machine? Did you start because fashion was your thing? Is that it?
So my mum taught me to sew ever since I was a little kid. I can always remember that I always knew how to sew.
Oh,
And even at high school, I used to make shirts for my friends and sell them for like $5 to all my friends. So we all had matching shirts that I had made. So I guess
wow.
I was a bit of a hustler even way back then.
Yeah, an entrepreneur for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Right. So, like you indicated, your dream, so to speak, was always in fashion.
Hmm.
Right? So you pivoted from, you knew that it was something about what you were currently doing wasn't working for you.
Yeah.
So, so tell us about that pivot. What happened?
From the engineering to the fashion.
Yeah, because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
you left engineering, right? And then when you left that, you went right into fashion. Is that
That's
correct?
right. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I quit my engineering job. I had no interest to do anything else. I didn't know what else there was for me. All I knew was that I was very passionate about sewing and designing clothes and making my own clothes. Whenever I was out on the street, people would always stop me and say, "Where did you get this outfit from?" It was something that I had created. And
Uh-huh.
back then, it wasn't cool to be an entrepreneur. And it wasn't even called entrepreneurship. It was called running a small business. And
Mm.
people used to look down on you. So when I started that business, this was 20 years ago or something, people used to be like, "Oh, can't you get a job? You're running a business, you poor thing." So that was the
Oh.
sentiment around running a business all those years ago. And back
Mhm.
then, I didn't know that I was creating a huge global business. I just sat down with the intention of following my bliss, doing the thing that I was passionate about, the thing that I would do for free. And I sat down one day and made four shirts. I took them to the cool boutique and they bought four shirts. The next week, I made eight shirts and they bought eight shirts. And then 5 years later, I had 120 accounts around the world. We exported to
What?
Paris, Tokyo, LA, and South Africa.
Wow.
We did runway shows all around the world, and I dressed some of the biggest celebrities of the time, which back
Mhm.
in the day was Paris Hilton. And this was kind of before social media. So we
Yeah.
were doing influencer marketing before influencer marketing was even a thing with the
Yeah.
world's biggest influencer. So that was sort of the trajectory of that business.
Wow. Now, how did you already had the gift, and as you indicated, it wasn't, you didn't call it entrepreneur, it was like small business, and it sounded like individuals, like you stated, looked down on individuals that had their own businesses. Was it the women they looked down on, or was it the men too, or was it okay for men to have a business and not women?
I'm not sure if there was the segregation back then. All I know is that it was shamed upon because you could be out there getting a real job, a real 9 to 5 job,
Right.
and that was
Uh-huh.
what was lauded as the be all and end all. So the fact that I wasn't working in a 9 to 5, people were like, "Oh, shame, you don't have a 9 to 5," which
Mhm.
seems so ironic these days because we're all trying to get away from that. But
Yeah.
back then, that was the thing that was really rewarded.
Wow, I love that. I love that because a lot of my listeners are doing those 9 to 5 only because that's what others expected of them. And because of that, they are very uncomfortable and uneasy and unsettled because they're doing something that they really don't want to, but yet they're hesitant because they get a paycheck. And so to just stop working like you did and you just launched out. What is it about you think that in that you decided, you know what, I'm gonna quit this? Did you have a plan before you quit, or how did that happen? Like, where did that bravery come from? That courage?
So it wasn't actually bravery or courage. It was the universe lovingly pushing me out of that business.
Okay.
My manufacturer went out of business, which caused me to go out of business. I had to
Okay.
declare bankruptcy, and I had a nervous breakdown on the side of a highway. I was taken to the hospital and found out that I had cancer, stomach ulcers, and I had to go on anti-anxiety and antidepressant tablets. So it
Wow.
wasn't that I was brave enough to quit it. If I was brave, I probably would have quit it a couple of years earlier, but I was
Uh-huh.
hanging on to that business for dear life. And the universe came in and gave me a big spiritual smackdown. That was the end of that business. And that was the first time that I guess I really was in my own way, because if
Yeah.
I wasn't, I would have left gracefully. I would have pivoted. I would have tried to do something else whilst I was
Mhm.
still in good health and good spirits. Unfortunately, that's not how it ended up for me. And I ended up having quite a long, depressive, and very unhealthy period.
Wow. What would you do to get out of that? And I know that was a journey.
Mm. It,
Uh-huh.
I'd love to say it was, I woke up one day and I spoke to the therapist and I took an antidepressant and everything was good, but that's
Right.
not how it
Right.
worked. It
Hmm.
was very much a gradual day by day experience of, oh, today I was able to get up out of bed. Okay, you've done a good day. You've had a good day.
Right.
Today you're able to get out of bed and go outside. Wow, you did
Hmm.
better than yesterday. So it
Yes.
was a very gradual climbing back and gaining my power back and
Hmm.
really reworking what my belief system was, because at that point I had thought the universe had done me dirty because I was working very hard in that business,
Yeah.
something that I loved. I was doing, I was trying really hard and it still didn't work out. So
Right.
it was a really difficult mindset for me to overcome, because we were told that if you do the right thing and you're working really hard and you're doing something that you love, it should work out. But for me,
Exactly.
it didn't work out. So
Exactly.
it took a lot of spiritual reckoning to get my head around what that meant. And also,
Mhm.
a lot of the mindset that I had to tell myself around that was, to speak to myself with compassion, to give myself sympathy and empathy, and to look
Mhm.
at what I'd learned over that period and take the good outside of the bad.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to reemphasize that because my listeners, there are several of my listeners that have anxiety and depression, and and some of them, it's not easy. And when I say that, because I've experienced it, so I can say that. And I know that it won't happen overnight, because the depression didn't happen overnight. It was a conglomeration of a lot of different things. Sound like you were stressed, burnout, you were sick, you had cancer, all of these things. So quite frankly, when you go through those things, your mind takes you places that you really don't want to go. And it's how you think plays a significant role in the things that you do or don't do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about imposter syndrome. That was something you experienced, am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I've experienced imposter syndrome many times over my career. I mean, certainly when I was the only female on a construction site, absolutely. I thought, God, what if they find out that I'm a female? Like what if they find out
Mhm.
that I'm a female with an engineering degree? So
Mhm.
certainly there was imposter syndrome then. And then in my second iteration of my career, I was a fashion stylist, celebrity stylist, and TV presenter. So again, I had a lot of imposter syndrome when I was dressing celebrities. Like, who am I to dress a celebrity? And, I'm from this
Mhm.
poor town in Australia. And who am
Mhm.
I to be a TV presenter interviewing, people on the red carpet? I'm poor, I was raised poor, like all of these sort of stories that we tell ourselves. And for
Yes.
people that aren't familiar what imposter syndrome is, it's an internal belief system that someone's going to find out that you're phony or a fake, or that you're making it up, whatever situation that you find yourself in. And your audience might be surprised to hear that it is pretty common. A lot of really big celebrities have spoken out about having imposter syndrome, and a lot of very prominent, especially women in senior roles or forward-facing roles, they often talk about having imposter syndrome in their roles. So it is a very common belief system.
Right. And it's not a bad word, right? And as data indicates that it's high achieving women. Those high achievers are the ones that really experience imposter syndrome. And also, when I read that myself, I started, like, my mindset changed. Like, oh, I must be a high achiever because I suffer with imposter syndrome. So it's all about that mindset, as you indicated. Now, you've done some really great things. Now, many people will be like, wow, I'm a stylist. I'm on TV. I'm with the celebrities, and, I'm like, oh, on the red carpet. And you also design clothes. Is that correct?
That was the first business, was designing the clothes. And then when
Right.
that one ended, after I recovered from all of the mental and physical unwellness, I then started a second business, which was a consulting business. So this
Okay.
is where I was trading time for money. So I was getting one job, getting paid for that one job, doing a fashion styling job. And then at the end of the week or the end of the month, I had to hustle again to get the next job, which I'm sure a lot of your audience is currently in that trading time for dollars type situation. So that was
Hmm.
my second iteration of business. And
Hmm.
again, I started that with no big intention of creating a global business. I just knew that I was so passionate about fashion styling. I knew I really wanted to have another go at the fashion industry. I wasn't ready to give up that industry. It was my love of my life. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to try something new, which is what fashion styling became. And
Yeah.
3 years after I started that, I had 3 of the best contracts in the country. So as you heard, I was the resident stylist at the biggest radio and TV network here in
Mhm.
Australia. I was the fashion editor at a national glossy publication magazine, and
Mhm.
I was the TV presenter for Fashion TV. So it was really a way, what I learned through that is the power of personal branding and how I position myself to be an authority and to be seen as someone who should be landing these sort of, big level roles.
Hmm. Hmm. But at what point did you discover there was more? It was more for you in life, like, because that sounds like an ideal. I believe many people think, wow, they're a movie star. They interacted with this and they're that, but that doesn't mean that that makes them happy, right? I mean, you can be doing all of that, it looks rosy, glamorous, and wow, but it's the price to pay. So, at what point did you discover that it was more to life than doing what you were doing?
Well, again, I think the universe had grander plans for me. So if it was up to me, my little ego would still be doing all of those jobs. You better
Uh-huh.
believe I thought I was living my best fashionista life. I was
Yep.
dressing up in haute couture and sitting in front rows. This was all I'd ever dreamed, more than I'd ever dreamed of. And
Mhm.
if it was up to me, I would still be doing it. But it's not the correct business model for me because it allows no freedom. I am at the mercy of absolutely everyone else. Like I never had any authority or control over my time or money. I was limited to how much I could earn. It didn't matter if I was the best in the country. That was the rate that they paid stylists. That was the
Wow.
stylist rate. So there
Hmm.
were a lot of things that were fundamentally faulty about that business model. And whilst it looked incredibly luxurious and celebrity and fancy on the outside, on the inside it was really fast paced. There was never any downtime, and my income was capped. So whilst I would never
Hmm.
have had the courage to have quit that job myself, the universe again gave me my second spiritual smackdown, and I lost all of my contracts in the space of 1 month. I went from being, I all of a sudden I was unemployed and unemployable. I could not get any work. I couldn't get a bar job. I tried to go back to the construction site. They wouldn't even take me back. And I had absolutely nothing left except for
Hmm.
all the knowledge of the last 10, 15 years of my life. So I had the knowledge of how to run a global fashion business. I had the knowledge of how to start a business from scratch and grow it exponentially. And so this
Mhm.
was back in 2015. And my brother at the time said, you need to teach an online business, an online course. And so
Yeah.
back then, no one knew what online courses were. I used to have to explain to people, you're going to study it on your phone and you'll log in on your laptop, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I taught the world's first online fashion styling course. And
Hmm.
so when I transferred my knowledge into a product that could
Yeah.
make money over and over again, that
Yeah.
is when I experienced the real freedom and the real, what I now think of as my dream life. And it really took me a lot to finally get there.
Hmm. Wow. So now you are doing like the e-learning. I mean, you have a lot of programs, you have a lot of courses.
Mhm.
When you talked about the universe, you talk about the universe and many times, and I say God, so I'm not here to 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 encourage or inspire anyone, in regards to beliefs of that nature. It's just that that's what I call God, or God winked the things that happened to you. And you said, but the universe, and then all of a sudden you lost everything, it sounds like. Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you bounce back. Um, how long did it take you to bounce back? Or and another thing you said, let me go to this. You prioritize self-love as fundamental for building confidence.
Right.
Did you always have self-love? When
Mm.
did the self-love come in?
I had thought that had generally pretty good self-esteem, self-love, self-worth. And I
Yeah,
still remember the moment when I realized I was completely lying to myself.
yeah.
I was looking at myself, my own reflection in the mirror, and I realized that not only did I not like myself, I absolutely hated everything about the reflection. And this
Hmm.
was later in life. This was in my 30s. By then, I'd done a decade of healing and therapy and trauma work and, working on all of my relationships. And it was really quite a devastating moment to realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm out here trying to, inspire other women, yet fundamentally, I don't even like my own reflection.
Hmm.
So, in order to get from that step to the point where I was then able to really love myself, I took, again, very small incremental rewirings of my brain and rewired all the negative programming and the negative belief system that it took for me to have that sort of really powerful, hateful response to myself.
Hmm.
So I can share one of the tools that I still use to this day if you
Yeah,
think you're
please. Yeah,
great.
please. Hmm.
So we all have these subconscious thoughts that are going on in our brain constantly. They run the show. Often the times we're not even aware of them. They're
Right.
so subtle that we don't even really pick them up. So I got to a place where if I still my mind enough, I can listen to the negative thoughts that are going on in my brain. When that
Okay.
happens, I get out a pen and paper and I make a piece of paper with two columns. The left
Okay.
column, I write down all of the negative beliefs, whatever they are about
Okay.
every aspect of my life.
Okay.
And then on the positive column, I reframe those beliefs to
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
positive. So let's
Yeah.
say the left hand column says, I don't like your body at the moment. The right hand column would say, your body is strong and healthy and is getting you through every day. So I
Okay.
reframe each of those beliefs. Then I get out my voice memos app on my phone and I record all of the positive beliefs in a voice memo. And then I
Hmm.
put that voice memo on in low volume whenever
Hmm.
I'm doing any menial task like cleaning, walking, pottering around the house. And that way I'm literally reprogramming the thoughts in my head with positive reframes of my own
Hmm.
voice. And
Okay.
that was one of the things that I did every single day. And I just worked through every single belief that I had until I'd reframed all of them.
Wow, that's powerful. Did anyone help you with that? Did you have a coach or a mentor or somebody?
I was in therapy with my psychologist, so I would go
Okay.
to her each week and talk through any of the big things that I couldn't talk through.
Very
And it
good.
really was a spiritual journey that I was on through this. It was about a 6 month period where that was my main focus in life because I realized if I
Mm.
don't love myself, there's no point trying to grow a business because I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to resonate with anyone. I'm not going to
Mm.
sell anything. It's the vibration is completely wrong. So I
Right.
sort of knew like you need to work on your vibration of self-love. Once you get that, then you can go out and grow your business.
Yeah, that's very, very good. Because many of us have experienced, and then and I remember one time I had a girlfriend, and one of the things she told me is that you don't love yourself. And I was like, how do you do that? Like, what is that? That was very confusing for me. And so I would go to another girlfriend. I said, do you love yourself? And so they would look at me like, are you crazy? you know, but, and I realized I didn't, because if you, it's just like somebody you love, your partner, your children, you would not talk to them like you talk to yourself. You know what I mean? You wouldn't say those negative things to them because you care for them. You don't want to hurt them. But for ourselves, we're like, oh my God, here I go again. I'm not good enough. My worth, myself, I don't look good enough. I don't have this, that, that. So I love that, how you change the narrative and how important it is. And for my listeners, think about, do you love yourself? Understand what, like, a lot of people, like, I don't understand what that means. Like, for me, I'm like, oh, what does that mean? But you actually broke it down and said, these were my negative beliefs, my limiting beliefs. And if you love someone, then you wouldn't talk to yourself, talk to them like you're talking to yourself. So that exercise was powerful. Thanks so much for sharing that. um, I want to go to your signature program, but before that, it sounds like you had some really powerful stories that highlighted the possibility of reinvention and achieving success. Would you mind sharing a couple of those stories with us?
I think when I look at my life in retrospect, I
Mhm.
have really reinvented myself three major times with three different businesses. So first
Uh-huh.
the fashion business, product business, then the consulting business, and now the digital business. And
Mhm.
each of those started, when I think about it, just with me having a passion for doing the thing that I wanted to do. So
Right.
at no point in any of the businesses, even this one, did I think that I was going to grow a global 6-7 figure business. So
Mhm.
for people that are listening that are feeling a bit stuck in their life, that are not sure what their next thing is, I encourage you to have a think about the thing that you're really passionate about. So what are the YouTube clips that you listen to all the time? What's the thing that people want to come and pick your brain about? What's the thing that people
Mhm.
say, hey, can I buy you a coffee? I want to come and ask you about that.
Mhm.
Whatever that thing is, I encourage you to go and explore that in more depth. So
Mhm.
maybe you're going to spend your weekends, or once the kids go to sleep, you're going to spend your evenings, whatever time you can find in the very busy weeks that we all
Yeah.
have. But just
Mhm.
explore that further and see where it might lead.
Mhm.
It may lead into a side hustle. It may eventually become your main hustle, or it might just be something that brings your life more joy and beauty and satisfaction,
Mhm.
so that you can then get through your 9 to 5 without feeling like you're stuck and you're suffering.
Right. Mhm. That's good. Excellent. That's very good. Now let's turn over to the signature program. Amplify your impact. Talk about that. Because this is the business that you're currently doing now, correct?
That's right. So Amplify Your Impact is one of the online courses that I sell. So the first one that I created was the fashion styling course. Amplify Your Impact was the second one. So this was one that I created that really monetized my skills and abilities from my offline business as a TV presenter, fashion editor, and stylist. Because in
Mhm.
that offline business, I really understood the power of personal branding. I understood what it took to dress someone to make them look like a celebrity, because that's literally what I was doing.
That's
I
right.
understood how to present on camera. I understood how to get publicity. And so all of these things are relevant to every single business owner, whether you're a consultant, a freelancer, a coach,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
brick and mortar. If you want to get your name out there, publicity is the cheapest and most viral way of doing it. And so long as you present yourself as a powerful personal brand, you'll be able to tap into publicity opportunities. So that was
Mm.
the second course that I created. And again, I encourage all the listeners to think about, what are all the skills, knowledge, life lessons, abilities that you've picked up along your way? So it may not seem like much to you, because to you it's obvious. To me it was obvious that I knew how to dress celebrities. It was obvious that I knew how to present on camera, because
Mhm.
that's something that I did for 7-8 years. When I
Mhm.
entered this world of online business, I realized there were so many women that didn't know how to present on camera, didn't want to be seen and heard on camera, had
Uh-huh.
fear of being on camera. So that's what led me to create the Amplifier Impact. So
Okay.
anyone who's listening, have a think about, maybe jot down all the little lessons and knowledge and life lessons that you've learned over your years that could potentially be helpful to someone else who's one or two steps behind you in the game?
Let's talk to us about utilizing the power of wow. Tell
So
us about that.
the power of wow is sort of the epitome of that online course. So it talks about personal branding, presentation, and publicity.
Mhm,
This is what I believe all women have, whether they want to use that to grow a business or whether they
mhm,
want to use that to go into a boardroom and have an important meeting, whether they want to use that to talk to their boss and ask for a raise. There are so
mhm,
many different ways that I really believe in the power of personal branding, showing up as your best self, and really having the confidence to go out there and be seen and heard. So
mhm,
when I started this business, I realized there were so many women that I said already that really struggled with putting their hand up, having people notice them, having
mhm,
their voice heard in
mhm,
important situations.
mhm,
So what I really truly believe in is if we are presenting ourselves in a way that makes us feel incredible, makes us feel confident, then
mhm,
we then have the confidence to go out into the world and be seen and heard, which then creates the wow factor in our own lives. And
mhm.
really it comes down to whatever it is, that thing for you that makes you feel great. So
Right,
for anyone listening, I have a great red lipstick on today. The red
right.
lippy really makes me feel bold and powerful. For
Mhm,
you, it might be the special earrings that you've been saving for the special day. It might
mhm,
be cute lingerie that no one even has to know that you're even wearing it. But it's all
mhm.
those things that, typically we're taught to like save them for the rainy day or save them for the special occasion.
Yeah.
But I really believe today is the special occasion. If
Mhm,
you feel like you need a little pep, if you need some extra confidence boost, go and put those things on, treat yourself, and then watch
mhm,
how you're being received in the outside world. Watch how people are responding to you. Are they
mhm,
listening to you? Are they giving you more respect? Are they giving you more attention? And
mhm.
that's something that we have total control over. And I
Right.
really encourage all women to start at least having a think about how they might be able to do this today.
Right. And because of your experiences you've had, you've learned how to not only do you understand the power of the brand, but you were a stylist and you still are. You probably once a stylist, always a stylist. You kind of understand your clients, what it is that they are looking for, what it is that they want the world to see. As you indicated, you're wearing the red, and the red to me was always a power color. And you called it the bold color, or black is business, or
Mhm.
so the colors mean something. And based on your experience, you figured out what they mean, like the purple and the, like mine is orange. That's my brand. That's the warm. That's my brand. So based on that, why you talked about the power of a brand. What tell us about the power of a brand?
Well, I believe that brand is what convinces people to purchase. So in
Okay.
today's digital age, when you think about if you're on Instagram and you're scrolling through Instagram, when you see an ad, you decide whether you're going to purchase from that ad within the first 3 seconds. So
Mm-hmm.
within the first 3 seconds, you already know I'm going to buy from this company or I'm going to keep on scrolling. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what do you learn about that company within the first 3 seconds? Do you know anything about their message? Do you know the benefits of their product? Do you even really know their offer? Probably
Mm-hmm.
not. What you've
Right.
made a decision on is how they presented themselves. And
Okay.
that is a part, your visual identity is a part of your brand. So
Okay.
in order to increase sales, you want to be presenting yourself in a way that stops people from scrolling. So you want to stop the scroll. And then
Mm-hmm.
once people have stopped the scroll, then you can engage them with your brand story, your
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, and your emotion, which is then what gets people to click over and purchase. But you
Mm-hmm.
really need to create that powerful brand first in order to stop the scroll.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like I used to hear we used to say the moment of truth. It's kind of like when you first see that person, what are you getting? You can kind of figure it out like in the first. For me, it was like three seconds. There's an author by the name of Malcolm Gladwell,
Right.
and yeah, and he used to talk about you would know a person. You can go into their home and know what's going on. It's just that second. I can't remember the name of the book. I've read all his books. I don't know why I can't at the moment. But so you're right. What is it about that brand that's drawing you? Yeah. So that's good. Now I want you to um couple things.
Mhm.
I would love for you to empower or talk to my listeners about boss babe potential.
Well, I truly believe that all of us incredible women have some sort of knowledge that we can turn into either a digital product, an audio book, a coaching program, some sort of online digital product that we own, that the government can't close down during some sort of outbreak, that
Mm-hmm.
is completely independent of our employer, our boss or anything like that. Something that we own, and something that helps other people who are a couple of steps behind us. So there's this concept of genius zone. So a genius zone is the knowledge that we all have that we think is just normal, but for everyone else it's genius because they don't know all the things that we know. So
All
I
right.
truly believe that everyone, as I was saying before, has these little nuggets that they picked up along the way that they
Mm-hmm.
can then turn into something that they have autonomy over. And again,
Mm-hmm.
whether that ends up being a huge business or whether that's just something that earns you as a woman a little bit of money that you get to keep for yourself and spend it
Yeah.
however you like.
Right. Okay. All right. Um, how important is execution? It's like we have these ideas, like you obviously you've done a lot, and you dealt with imposter syndrome, and then you at one time you questioned whether, I don't know whether you were worthy, but will I be successful, or all of this, but yet I always tell my listeners and even my clients, you have to take action. You got to do something. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect, but just do something. When I look at your courses, I'm like, wow, you have a lot of courses. You have I was just the e-learning, the entrepreneur journey. You have the ad, and the stylist, and you have all of that. And I also read that a lot of people are, if you didn't grow up in the digital age, you didn't grow up like that, then it's kind of difficult. But in your course, you say I make it simple, and that's something that people I don't think they fear it or they're skittish about it because that's not something that comes natural for them. So,
Mhm.
what advice would you give someone? Because right now, you have to do digital, you got to be online. I mean, you have to promote yourself. How do you do that? You don't just, hey y'all, I'm here. So tell them a little bit about your program, the digital part, and why you say you'll keep it simple for them.
So in today's day and age, so we're recording this in 2024, it's so much easier to create an online business
Hmm.
than when I started in 2015. So my
Hmm.
first digital product was Frankenstein. I had this website with like 24 different plugins. It cost me thousands of dollars to build. In today's day and age, you can literally get started with the technology that you currently use. For instance, a Zoom call and your mobile phone and a PayPal checkout link, and you are up and running.
Hmm.
The course that I teach about this is called Freedom Funnels, which is the only course that teaches online course creation and automation. I'm very big about automating your life and getting more of your
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
In that course, I actually teach you a proprietary method called the MBP. It stands for minimum bankable product. So the
Okay.
idea of MBP is that it's essentially a low tech, low content version of what will eventually become a signature program. And we
Okay.
do it with the tech that we use already. So our Zoom calls, anything like that, we promote it on our existing networks through our WhatsApp channels, through our Facebook group, through our personal friends. And
Hmm.
you'll find your initial buyers from there. Everyone has a small group of buyers that are currently
Yes.
sitting around them that will buy their MVP. And
Hmm.
then through the MVP, this is a way for you to test what you think is going to become your main digital product. So
Okay.
you teach the MVP live, you have a live audience, and through that teaching, your audience will ask you questions. So they'll say, hey, Amber, you didn't really teach that part very good. Can you elaborate on that part? And so
Okay.
this helps you with all of the questions that you currently have about trying to create this big digital program, because the questions that you're currently asking yourself are likely things like, I don't know what to include in it. I don't know how much information they need. So when you show up and teach it live, it answers all of those questions. Plus you get paid for it. So then you have the belief that your knowledge is worthy of earning money, which is a huge mindset block that women have to overcome. And once you've done that once, you've been paid once, you've created your MVP, you've taught it once, a lot of the trickiness of creating a digital business is really broken down. And from there, you're off and running.
That's good, Amber. That's great. So listen, this is my last question. What's next for you? What's your next?
We've just created a course creation agency where we create world-class courses for time-poor experts. So my goal with this business is to help millions of women and men all over the world who know that they have expertise. They know that they've got something that they can teach people, but maybe they're held up because of the tech. Maybe they weren't born in the digital age, so the digital stuff is all a bit new to them. Or maybe they're just really busy in their offline work. Maybe they've got a really important 9 to 5, but they know they want that side project that's just ticking over by themselves. So I'm super passionate about helping people to create that for them.
Well, that's great. That's great. And automation, right? So you can get that freedom. Yeah, that's great. How can my listeners contact you?
So come and find me on Instagram at the Amber Renae and let me know that you found me on Cassandra's pod. Or you can check out amberrenae.com, and there's a bunch of free masterclasses in there that you can sign up for free that will teach you all about the MVP. It'll help you map out your genius zone. Lots of great things in there to get started.
Wow, great. Amber, that is so neat. I should have met you a while ago before I had to, the investments you make, because I don't know the digital piece of it. But you are a wealth of knowledge. I applaud you for all that you've done. I appreciate your candor, your expression, and sharing what it is that you've gone through, because we've all been through something. And so, it just didn't start out, oh wow, I'm a celebrity stylist, I'm a TV person, you were on a journey, and we will continue to be on our journeys. And I just want to thank you for your nuggets you have shared with the listeners. And as you indicated, I'm certain many of them will be in touch with you. And in doing so, I would love for them to mention the Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. That's how they heard about you and everything. So my listeners out there, I want to thank you for listening. And I know that Amber has shared some phenomenal things with you. And I encourage you to look at her website. It's powerful. She has so many tools and resources on there. And you can tell she's branded well. When you go on her website, you see her, she looks the same. She's so put together. And think about it, because of what she's been through, gone through, what she's loved, what her background was, what her sewing was, what she did in the beginning. So you could see it just didn't happen overnight. So I just want to thank you, Amber, again. I tell my listeners, I say bye for now. God bless. And again, remember, mindset for your success and overcoming imposter syndrome is the name of this podcast today. Thanks again, Amber.
Thanks, Cassandra.